Annelise Nielsen is getting ready for a very big week because, well, the party's coming to her. The Prime Minister will be there along with the President and other world leaders as they meet when it comes to the Quad. She joins us now from beautiful DC. You got that feeling in the air, mate? When it was a state visit, there were national flags everywhere. What's it like when it's a Quad meeting?
Well, definitely not national flags everywhere, and a lot of that's to do with not antagonising France anymore. We've just got a little bit of insight into the bilateral meetings that Scott Morrison's going to have when he goes to the UN in New York, and there's definitely a European theme. He's meeting with the head of the European Commission, the head of NATO, also the Prime Minister of Sweden, Austria. So there's definitely what we're anticipating to be potentially a show of solidarity with Australia after the rage of France has been provoked. But you never know, once they're behind closed doors, there could also be some advocating on France's behalf, because this has all upended the world order. So
tell us about the plan for things. Is it DC first? Is it New York first? Lay out the next couple of days for everyone.
New York first. He's flying straight into New York, and a lot of that's to do with the meeting with President Joe Biden, who's been scheduled to speak at the United Nations on Tuesday afternoon. So on the sidelines, he's also going to meet Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and also climate envoy John Kerry is joining his meeting with Joe Biden. So we can guess what's going to be on the agenda there. But then he's down to DC. There's going to be the Quad meeting at the White House, which includes the leaders from Japan and India. And there's going to be a number of meetings around that as well. Also Boris Johnson, the UK Prime Minister, coming in, which shows just how significant this whole Australia-AUKUS alliance has been.
Now, obviously, the catch-22 here from the Prime Minister's domestic political question is the question of climate. Now, Biden couldn't be further in about where his position is. Boris Johnson couldn't be further in than where his position is. Now, I know how the domestic political concerns for some play out about net zero 2050, but I wouldn't be surprised if, even if that was signed, that the federal government's position will be, well, we've already got a deal for 2030, so our policy settings are about 2030, then 2030 to 40, then 40 to 50. So 2022 doesn't behave like 2047. But what are you hearing about the expectations again when it comes to climate? And obviously the French would see that as a backdoor way to punish Australia, to at least force them to the position to net zero for domestic political issues, for domestic political consequences. Or if they don't sign up, then you could be getting taxes because we're not at that target from the EU that they are now in charge of.
Yeah, and I mean, some progressive Democrats in the US have put forward a proposal for taxing imports from countries that haven't met pretty ambitious targets too. So don't forget that this is a domestic issue for Joe Biden, and he's fighting the progressives in his own party over this. And that's where he is likely to be more bolshy about it. There could be the expectation that Australia just needs to commit to more than whatever they've done, because this is really the sentiment of the climate lobby around the world. More is always better. And what we are going to see is progressives getting more, putting more pressure on Joe Biden, because they're losing out a lot of the amendments that they wanted to put forward in this reconciliation process. And that's putting Joe Biden's $3.5 trillion, whatever you want to call it, package, Change America, Build Back Better package, in jeopardy. And so he's fighting that element as well. So he'll want some kind of win. And so we can't think of this as something where Australia gets to come in and do a victory lap. The US is seeing that they're doing us a favour in this space, that they've made the point consistently that Scott Morrison came to them first with this proposal, and then they've agreed to it because they think it's a good idea. But the question of reciprocity is a real one.
Well, maybe all everyone has to do is wear a dress that says, cool the planet, because that apparently will fix everything. That's what AOC did, of course, at the Met. I mean, the rich have now been put back in their place, right? You just turn up. Oh, and the designer who did
hashtag,
that, a few issues about her own tax situation as well. Now, also, in terms of the theatre and the expectations of things, and I know that the way these things work is that you know a lot for pre-planning, but there's things that slowly get announced. Is there going to be those big moments of theatre where we see the White House used as a setting for these Quad leaders?
Oh, yeah. No, that's definitely been a long-term strategy of the Biden administration, especially when they're approaching the Indo-Pacific. So we think that that's also why Scott Morrison's no longer getting that Oval Office meeting, apart from just the timing of everything, that it didn't work out for him to come in on Tuesday when Joe Biden was physically at the United Nations. They want that to be the focus. They want that to be the show of solidarity, and they don't want to focus on Europe, which is kind of ironic, because we spent the first 6 months of the Biden presidency saying it's all about Europe again, and guess what? It's not.
What a surprise, dare I say Trump was right. But anyway, that's how often we end these discussions, and sadly I don't give you a chance to respond. Lovely to see you, mate. Nice to talk to you. We'll see you again very soon. You've got a big few days ahead of you. Can't wait to see your coverage.